hard for my wife, took care of our kid, and did all the chores while she came home late every day. So I followed her and found out that she is cheating on me. My wife and I were married for 4 years. The first time my wife and I met was at a football stadium. I'd gone out with a couple of friends to support my football team, and she was there with her family too. While the game was going on, she tried to take a picture, and since I was sitting a row from where she sat, she captured me in the image. Without caring if I was intruding or not, I smiled as she took the shot. Well, I'll say we became friends afterward because she was so lovely and polite. After she saw me grinning from ear to ear in the pictures, she asked if she could send the pictures to me. It was hilarious because I thought she would be mad that I ruined her moment. Instead, we became friends. From there, we exchanged contacts and followed each other on Facebook. After the day we met, we didn't talk for a while. We started talking again after she sent a message on Facebook, and from there we started talking. It started as random questions, and gradually we moved to personal questions. I liked her personality. She was energetic and always fun to talk on the phone or chat with. So after weeks of talking and getting to know each other, I asked her out on a date, and she accepted. Our first date was so smooth, and it even led to other dates, subsequently leading to a relationship. I had fallen in love with her, and she made me feel like a baby again. I was heartbroken in my previous relationship and was too afraid to fall in love again, which was more reason I buried myself in work and tried to shut out any woman that came my way. But with my wife, it was different. She made me feel safe and assured, and I loved her so much. My mind was at rest with her, and eventually we got married. My wife had always wanted a child, so we had one child in the first year of our marriage. She was already 2 months pregnant before we got married, and although I didn't want a child so fast, I agreed for us to have a child because of how excited she was. When our daughter came, I was so happy, and I loved how she lit up my world. Her presence pushed me to work harder and become a better father and husband. As my daughter grew older, she spent more time with me because I worked from home and had enough time to take her to her daycare and bring her back home. My wife was a nurse, so the only time she got to spend time with our daughter was either on her days off or when she was at home. Also, because I was the one who spent most of the time at home, I took care of the house, cleaned, did the laundry, and on some days, I would cook. I did this because I wanted to ease the burden on my wife and loved a neat house. I also knew she was always exhausted every time she came home, and the possibility of her cleaning the house, going grocery shopping, and cooking with the little time she had to rest was almost impossible. So I did all I could to make life easier for us. We continued like this for the first 3 years of our marriage, and were both happy. We barely had issues, except for our normal couple fights, which never lasted a day. We were also great parents to our daughter and did everything possible to raise her well. Everything was great between us until the 4th year of our marriage. It all started with my wife not returning when she was supposed to. For example, if she worked the afternoon shift and was supposed to come home in the evening to be with us, she would not return until the following day and would claim she was covering up for a sick colleague, or she decided to work overtime. In the beginning, I understood her reasons, but it got to a level I could not take it anymore. It was becoming more of a habit than an excuse, and it affected our relationship. Our daughter was beginning to miss her mother, and each time, I had to devise a dozen excuses for why her mother did not come home. Also, when all of this started, our intimacy reduced terribly. She no longer allowed me to touch her, and each time I tried to, she would either complain about being so tired or say she was not in the mood. These continued for weeks, and it even rolled into months. It got so bad that I became afraid for our marriage, and I signed us up for marriage counseling, but she didn't attend the appointment once. As time passed, our relationship deteriorated, and I had to open up to a close friend. He first suggested that my wife was either seeing someone or was tired of our marriage, and none of that made sense. I trusted my wife so much, and it never crossed my mind that she would cheat on me. To even show how much I trusted her, I argued with my friend that my wife couldn't cheat, and I believed she was only working so hard so we could give our daughter the kind of future she deserved. I also thought about the aspect of my wife being tired of our marriage, and I tried to talk to her about it, but every time I brought it up, her response would either be cold or she would sound so uninterested in the conversation. After trying so many times to make things right, the idea of my wife seeing someone else crossed my mind. Already in the previous months, there were many changes with her. Before, she used to go grocery shopping wearing simple clothes. But she became more conscious of how she looked and would even combine 2 to 3 perfumes just to go grocery shopping. I didn't think it was suspicious because I had always complained about how she dressed outside the house, and she used to look homeless before, which was a major improvement on her end. It was something I complained about all the time, and I was glad she was finally listening. So one day, my wife was playing with our daughter in the living room, and I was in the kitchen trying to make dinner for us. I remember her phone ringing, and instead of taking the call in the living room like I expected her to, she rushed out of the house. Immediately, I knew something was wrong. In our 2 years of dating and 4+ years of marriage, my wife had never gone outside to take a call, no matter what the call was about. Out of curiosity, I left what I was doing and followed her. I didn't go out of the house, but I could hear most of her conversation because she left the door open. Before she returned, I hurried back to the kitchen. After she came back inside the house, she acted all cool, played with our daughter for a few minutes, and then turned to me to ask about the groceries we needed to replace. I mentioned the things, and she made the list. After she was done, she told me she'd be going to get them at the grocery store since she wasn't doing anything at the moment. I didn't need a psychic to tell me something was off. Her body language said it all, and I watched her go into our room to shower, change, and wear light makeup for grocery shopping. We had not shared our husband and wife bond or even communicated like we used to in months, but there she was, excited and all dressed for grocery shopping. As soon as she left, I asked my closest neighbor if his oldest daughter could help me watch after our daughter for a few minutes, and he agreed. It was such a relief, and without wasting time, I drove to the grocery store I knew she went to. On getting to the grocery store, I waited a bit, and just as I was about to step out of my car to confirm if she was genuinely shopping, I saw my wife walking out with a man from the grocery store. She had her hand around his waist, and his hands were crossed over her shoulder. It was already evening, and the whole store was lit up. I actually saw them from the see-through glass, and before they stepped out of the store, I already charged inside in anger. I was boiling, and to date, I could not believe I had acted that way. My wife was so shocked to see me that she did not know what to do or say. I didn't confront or talk to her because deep down, I knew we were done. Instead, I focused on her affair partner, yelled at him, and I caused a scene. People gathered around to take videos and photographs, but I didn't mind. I was just so angry. In the end, his manager found out about his affair with my wife, and he was fired. As for my wife, she came home that night to beg and cry, but no matter what she said, I was too disappointed to forgive her. She said she did it because she thought she would get away with it and return to me, which even hurt me more. That same night, I kicked her out of the house, and she crashed at her friend's place. She had been seeing him for more than 6 months, and I was completely unaware. That whole time, she was telling stories of how she covered for her friend at work and blah blah. She was spending the night with him while I looked after our daughter alone. There's no need to ask if we divorced or not, because we did. I could not just forgive her or forget she cheated on me while I was trying to be a good husband and father. Thankfully, I won custody of our daughter, mainly because she was never around in the first place, so it was better she stayed with me. It's been over a year, and I still have not gotten over the pain and hurt I felt. I was so disappointed, and I still am. Right now, my daughter is my top priority, and I will try my best to be a good father and teach her to be faithful to whoever she ends up with.